Everybody, government spending could be the greatest divide between President Obama and Mitt Romney. Will Washington get its fiscal act together? Here for a fiscal face-off, Erica Payne, founder of the Agenda Project, and Peter Schiff, who is the CEO of Euro-Pacific Capital. Erica, I'm going to start with you. GDP down, unemployment up, recession. Is it worth it to go off the cliff? A little Thelma and Louise action for all of us.
Listen, we absolutely don't want to go off the cliff, but what we need is for both parties to come together and come up with a reasonable compromise. And extending tax cuts for people who make more than $1 million a year, more than $250,000 a year, is not a good part of that plan.
Peter, do you agree with that? Should we just, tax those making $1 million more? Is that the way we should go?
Well, I think the real problem is not going over the fiscal cliff, but in trying to avoid it. You see, if we actually do the right thing and tackle the deficit, it could bring on a short-term recession, but that would be the type of constructive pain that we need to solve the problems. If we try to prevent that, we're going to bring on a depression. What we really need to do is slash government spending. And if that is painful in the short term for people who depend on those checks, we need to endure that, because believe me, the real fiscal cliff is much worse when, because we do nothing, we have a sovereign debt crisis and a currency crisis, and then we're in real trouble.
Carol, the best way to have a sovereign debt problem is to do things like not raise the debt ceiling and to therefore tell your creditors that you're not going to meet the obligations that you've already taken on. And that's one thing that the conservatives, let's keep in mind that for the first time in United States history, we had a downgrade of our credit rating because the crazy conservatives in Congress decided that they didn't want to meet the financial obligations we had already undertaken. And let's keep in mind another thing, that when you're talking about cutting government spending and the people who depend on those checks, you're talking not about people who depend as though they are depending and living on the government dole. The people who depend on these checks are people like my mother, who was a high school principal of 2,000 kids, my father, who was a judge, who helped keep law and order in the country. Those are people who are actually paid by the government. So, Peter, be very careful when you're talking about, people who depend on the government. Our entire country depends on the government keeping things running.
Are you finished ranting about this? I mean, first of all, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't pay off your debts by going deeper into debt. We don't instill confidence in our creditors by increasing the debt ceiling. Because if we keep increasing the debt ceiling, we're going to have no choice but to print money to repudiate our debts. And that is the crisis I'm talking about. We will have a sovereign debt crisis and a currency crisis if we don't bring these debts under control. And we're not going to control the spending by raising taxes on the most productive Americans, the Americans that produce the goods and services that create the jobs. We need to slash government spending.
Regular Americans who work every day by telling them that people like Paris Hilton are more constructive than they are, that Paris Hilton is more productive.
What about me?
You continue to argue that the very wealthiest Americans are job creators. I'll tell you what's a job creator. Consumer demand is a job creator.
They're not.
So if you
Consumers don't create jobs. Who do you think hires them?
To someone, you should hand it to the people who are going to spend the money, rather than handing it to the people who have made all the money.
Where do consumers get the money to spend? They get it from their employers. And the reason there's anything to buy is because somebody produced it.
Right. The only reason they produced it, you moron, is because somebody wanted to buy it.
All right.
You call me a moron. You're the one that's talking crazy.
Guys, hey, no name calling. No name calling to either of you. I don't want to hear it. I really don't. But let's get back on topic, Peter. I want to start with you on something. This is very crucial. The issue of unemployment. We were talking about job creation. You're both talking at once, talking about job creation. But the issue of unemployment, the CBO was very specific today about 2 million jobs lost. That is depression, in your opinion. But on the other side, Peter, you also said that we need to address the issue of spending. So which is it going to be, in your opinion? What is the best route?
Well, I think we have to stop spending. If we want more jobs, and I'm probably the only person here that's created it, I have over 150 employees. And the reason I employ people is because I want to make a profit for myself. And so the only way we're going to get more jobs is if we make it less expensive to hire people. And the reason it's so expensive is because of government rules and regulations that unnecessarily add to the cost of employment. So if we want more jobs, we have to increase the demand for labor, which means we have to reduce the price of that labor, which means a lot of deregulation. It means lower taxes. It means less government. If we stay on this trajectory, we're going to destroy jobs. More importantly, we're going to destroy productive jobs. We'll replace them with non-productive jobs, and people might have a paycheck, but there will be nothing to buy.
Okay, let me take this issue to Erica, because Erica, at the same time, what he's talking about is job creation. One of the things that you've been very vocal about through the Agenda Project has been the fact that jobs will be created no matter what after the Bush tax cuts expire. How do you justify that when we've got corporate taxes, the effective corporate tax rate at 35% right now, and many CEOs are coming on the Business Network, Erica, and telling us they don't want to hire. The uncertainty is too much for them. What do you say to them?
Well, what I say to them is that when you're looking at corporate taxes, you can say that the effective corporate tax rate is 35%. However, the real corporate tax rate, the rate that these corporations are actually paying, is substantially lower than that, because they hire armies of lobbyists to go in and pay off
that's only some corporations that are politically correct. My corporation pays that high tax rate. I don't have any lobbyists protecting me. I pay that 35% tax rate on my corporate income.
Peter,
and then when I pay out any money after that, I get taxed again.
In the country, there are things that need to get done. Like, for example, why don't we upgrade our infrastructure, about 80% of which has a C rating? Why don't we do things like put high-speed internet everywhere so that we can create the conditions for a new economy and for new jobs? Peter, when you go in there and you say that Peter, honey, let me just finish. When you go in there and say that the best way to create jobs is to cut government regulation, I want you to be specific about what regulations you would like to cut. So would you like to cut the Office of Safety, the OSHA regulations that make sure that when a coal miner goes in, he actually might come out alive? Is that what you want to cut, Peter?
Peter, I don't have much time. I want to give you the last word on this, though. Peter, go ahead. Final word.
Look, I don't want. It's not about safety. Look, I have bureaucrats in my face constantly all day, preventing me from hiring people. It's got nothing to do with safety. I spend millions of dollars complying with regulations that you don't even know exist, that do nothing to create a safe environment for my customers or for my employees. All they do is run up my red tape, and they pad the payrolls of the U.S. government. You need to actually work in the private sector and employ somebody. Walk a mile in my shoes before you criticize me.
All right, Peter Schiff did get the last word. Guys, interesting discussion, if nothing else. Erica Payne, Peter Schiff. Guys, thank you very much.